Hello everyone and welcome back to Design Analysis. In this video, we'll be deconstructing this beautiful skirt. If you recall, in the last video, we deconstructed a shirt, a boxy silhouette shirt that had a yoke and pleats and inverted pleats on the back piece. So when I found the design of this skirt, I thought, what a beautiful way to explain that inverted pleat is not a basic design, right? So you can see that here it is added on the side, right? So let's get right into it. Okay, so as usual, we'll be deconstructing the skirt under the usual elements, and the first is the silhouette, and of course that should be a giveaway. This is a simple A-line silhouette skirt, right? So let me grab my pen and then we write that this is an A-line silhouette. Excuse me, let me make that bigger. This is A-line silhouette, right? And then of course the fabric, if we look closely, it looks like something made out of cotton, right? And I think that is just fine to give that structure, right? So it doesn't look limp and falling down. It stands. It gives that structure. Let's go with cotton, right? And of course the symmetry, I will assume that what we can see here on this side is what is on the other side. So I'll say excuse me, I'll say it is symmetrical. Of course, let's go on to the construction now. We're deconstructing a skirt, so obviously there are no necklines here, but at the waistline, this is just a normal waistline, right? And then we've got this band, which is also called a yoke, right? We've got this band, so that is the yoke, and then we've got the pleats, the inverted pleats, and then we've got a pocket, a patch pocket that is inside this should I call it gusset? Yeah, so we've got that. Of course, let's see. Now to think, on the first look, I would have just thought that it's one piece, because you can only see fold lines here. Okay, so there's no sewing, no stitch or seam rather on that side, right? But of course the seam can be inside. Yeah, I mean that would be more appropriate, because on the outside that would look tacky. So the seam might be inside, and I would strongly go with gussets. The reason being that just because of the silhouette, the structure just looks like an A-line. If it were to be unfold, what I'm trying to explain is that let me clean all this. What I'm trying to explain is, if this fabric were to be unfold, that means there's a fold here, another fold here, and of course then the CB just behind there. If it were to be one piece with just one seam just at the CB, I think the flow of this will look more circular, if you understand what I mean. This will look more circular, but then it looks as rigid as an A-line silhouette, right? So I think I'll just go with gussets. So we've got some details there. Yoke, we have inverted pleats, we've got patch pockets, and we've got a gusset or godet, and then we've got this wide hem allowance, so wide hem allowance, right? So yeah, so we have that. So moving on, so of course obviously we'll need our basic skirt block for this. Just extend it to the desired length, right? And that brings us to guesstimating. Of course, we just said that this is at the natural waistline. It is not built up, so this is the natural waist. And of course you need to estimate the distance of the yoke for the band, right? And then the length, this is around mid calf, not full length, so let's just say mid calf length, right? Moving on, Okay, so now to the pattern, right? Now to the pattern. So since I've decided to go with a gusset, so what we're going to do basically is get our skirt block, extend it to the desired length, right? And then draw a line from the dot. Let me change this. Right, draw a line from the dot down into the hemline, because you're going to be transferring this dot into the hem, right? And then indicate the distance. That means you're going to measure the distance from here, that's the waistline, to the yoke that you want. So equal distance like that on the CB and on the CF and the sides, right? Once you do that, when you close it up, you have the band or the yoke. You have the yoke. You can extract the yoke from there, right? And then this is what the pattern will look like. That is an A-line skirt pattern. Okay, so now to introduce the pleats. Okay, so if we go back to the picture, to the image, we can see that, okay, so it doesn't look like there's a lining on the inside, but of course you're going to cut two of the bands, right? So the other one will serve as a facing, and possibly an interfacing will be ironed on it, right? Okay, so I was talking about the pleats. So the pleats, they meet here, right? And this edge is the skirt on its own. Okay, so you need the allowance of the one that goes inward. You can use as much as 4 inches, right? And then allowance of that one that goes that way too, right? That's 4 inches. And of course, you now have the gusset itself at the base, if you understand what I'm saying. So there's this one that goes inwards, and then there's the gusset that serves as the base. Okay, so if you are going to attach, the seam is going to be right here, and then you can finish it with something like a, what is the name of the seam now? Flat fell seam. You know that seam that you find on the side of the jeans? Yes, it's flat fell. So it is sewn, then top folded a second time, and top stitched on, right? That kind of seam, you find it on the side of your jeans. Yes, I think that one is more appropriate instead of a normal stitch and overlocking thread, right? If it is a gusset. So yeah, so going back to the pattern, so now we have this. So this is the side, and this is the pleat that is going to be folded inwards, so it will come inwards like this, right? Same way here. So we're adding it, and then the basic, and this is the yoke. So don't forget to indicate where the patch pocket will be. That is this one. So once this one is folded, it will be folded on this point, on the midpoint of the gusset, and this two will be folded on the midpoint of the gusset, right? So, and the final look of the pattern will look something like this, right? I think it's a beautiful skirt, and I think it's a simple enough skirt for you to try. So tell me in the comments, will you be trying this? And of course, before I go, I'll tease that for today. So yes, we talked about pockets, right? And then the pocket I've seen in this video is the patch pocket. So tell me, I know you know a lot of pockets. Tell me the most common ones, or your favorites, in the comments section. Okay, that is it for this video. I hope you've learned a thing or two, and I look forward to seeing you in my next video, inshallah. Bye.